as short as possible presentation on this, a couple of minutes, and then a board member will make a motion. That's fine, whoever wants to do that will have a second. We have a lot of public comment, but this is what I would say about the public comment, folks, as you already know. We're going to do two things. Ilana Morosi, who has worked with her neighbors on this and is opposed to it, she has 10 of her neighbors who have ceded their time so that she can have 5 minutes to discuss it. That eliminated 10 minutes of discussion or a 5-minute presentation by somebody who's been very active on it. I think that makes sense because she's knowledgeable on the issues. We're going to do that. There are two other folks who decided to cede their 30 seconds. Nick decided to cede his time to Roxanne Brown, so she will have a minute on the issue. And two folks, Era Ribbons and Laddie Williams, decided to cede their time to Hubert Hodgkin, I'm probably saying that wrong, and he will have a minute and a half. After that, what I'll let you know all is this. There are about another 30 cards in here, and they pretty much all seem to indicate the same position, which is against, just the fact it's in there. We can either all sit here until 11:30 and everybody gets a chance to come up here and speak for 30 seconds if you want, or there's a much more efficient way to do it by simply, when I call your name, saying, yes, I'm against, yes, I agree with folks, I'm done with it. You feel you have something you have to say, you're going to get the chance to say it, but again, it's going to behoove folks, I think, if they just move through this again.
Okay, I will be as succinct as possible on this. The issues with 320 are as follows. Number one, it's a 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. operation with an outdoor bar and patio. The application, regardless of what has been said later, the application is for full wine alcohol sales. That means tequila, vodka, bourbon, you know, whatever you want. Outside on the patio, 12 feet, 6 inches from neighbors across the alleyway, where there are kids, home workers, etc. Number two, the parking is already a mess on Sunset. The major lot that is used by Gold's Gym is being shut down. We're going to have greater traffic congestion. Number three, there are a lot of complaints that have been made about the likely impact of alcohol use in the area. Because of that, there is a motion that would recommend denial of the application as presented, and originally what was passed by LUPC was a motion recommending that we support an application that had baked into it certain conditions. I have one brief addendum to this that I have to bring to the board's attention, and I'll do it in the remaining 94 seconds. 8 days before LUPC met, without any of us knowing this, the city had issued a certificate of occupancy. The certificate of occupancy is important. The reason it's important, it is for a retail bakery only, no seating, bakery equipment only, nothing else to make sandwiches, pizzas, sliced meats, dairy products, etc. And it is for bakery and retail, period. No restaurant, no table service, zero. I got back from vacation, sent an email to the applicant asking him about whether there was a certificate of occupancy. He punted to his representative, the project organizer and architect, who was asked 3 times at the LUPC meeting. Once by me, before the meeting began, once by one of the public commenters, and once point blank by Kathleen Rawson, who was chairing the meeting in Robin's absence after her recusal. Is there a certificate of occupancy? He denied it. Had we known that there was a certificate, we would have made the motion would have been to simply restrict approval to what is in the certificate: bakery, retail only, no seating. I'm done.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so before we move to motion issues, I don't see the applicant here. Does the applicant have a representative here? Do we have an applicant representative? Right? Seeing none, there will be no presentation by the applicant. All right, the motion we have in front of us, for starters, understand what you said, Mark, and the interceding developments. We've certainly heard all the emails from the community on this issue. We're certainly well aware of what No on 320 folks want us to do. We're very aware of that. But we're going to start with the motion we have, and we can amend and change from there if need be. So we've got this motion as it's read out. You don't need to read it. We don't need to go through the whole thing, but you all have it on your agenda. Do we have a motion from somebody on the board to bring this LUPC motion? Brought by George Generis. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mike Bravo. Now, before we move on to talking about this and wasting any time, I'm going to ask if there's anybody on the board that wants to immediately move to amend Mark Salzberg. What would you like to do?
I'd like to provide a substitute motion.
Okay.
Substitute motion is that we deny the project. I secondly would suggest that we hear, should this fail, we not hear public comment twice. So we'll have all the public comment on this part of the motion, and if it should fail and we have to proceed to the LUPC's original motion, then we won't have public comment again.
All right. So the amendment here, to recap for folks, the amendment would be instead of this motion, it would just simply be a motion to deny the project in total. Correct?
Yes.
That's what Mark is proposing. I understand, folks. I hear you. We're going to hear public comment from you on it. But the man has made a motion, and we'll see if he gets a second.
That is correct. And since you weren't speaking into the microphone, did everybody hear?
This is the Mark's substitute motion. The VNC recommends denial of the project at 320 Sunset Avenue, period.
Okay, very good. So the way we're going to start this off is excuse me, hold on. Can we do one thing at a time? Yes, sir. No, listen to me. Ivan, that's not correct. Listen to me. As Mark said, and he's correct, when folks come up right here now and they want to talk about the whole project. Talk about what's here on the paper. Talk about the proposed amendment. Give us any other opinions you have on the issue. We're going to do all the public comment right now, okay? That's how we're going to do it. So, we got the second by Helen. The first was by Mark on this amendment to the motion, which is really a substituted motion because it would eliminate the other. All right, we're going to start with Ilana. Come on up. We're going to put 5 minutes on the clock.
I want to go at the end.
I'm sorry?
I want to go after.
No. I need you to go at the beginning because it educates the board.
I'm summarizing. I don't know what people are going to say or not.
Ilana, I'd like you to go, if you want the deal we made, I'd like you to go first. Thank you.
Then maybe someone won't have.
Exactly. The whole idea is that you espouse what your neighbors think and they don't need to keep saying the same thing over and over again. Okay, we have 5 minutes on the clock. Great. Yes, before you start, Ilana, Joe.
I'd like to know whether Mark's motion results in the application of supporting the certificate of occupancy only.
I'm sorry, say that again?
They have a certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
And the certificate of occupancy, we're told, would be what LUPC would have adopted if they knew that it existed. Period. Does Mark motion do that?
No.
So, no, my motion does not do that. However, we have the motion from LUPC. We have to act on that or the substitute motion. And then we are free to entertain another motion that says, this is what we want you to do, planning commission. Somebody can introduce that motion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, on behalf of the community, thank you, Mark, for all your hard work, for doing such a terrific job listening to us. Thanks, board, for your consideration. I'll be really fast. We request that you vote in favour of the motion to deny. We're a group of 100 plus immediate residents who have been busting our guts for the last 6 months fighting this. Again, as Mark said about the hiding of the C of O, that's affected us as well as the decision at LUPC. So we'd like you to take that in consideration. There's a few things I'll touch on. I'm not sure what other people are going to say, so I'll just touch on what I feel are the important things. Alcohol definitely doesn't belong here. The ABC Regulation 61.4 states that ABC will not license a new retail location within 100 feet of a residence. We have people whose fence lines are 13 feet from this property. So people whose children are going to bed 20 feet from where this bar accommodating 100 persons is going to be is definitely not in alignment with what ABC regulations would have us want. Also, there's an over-concentration of alcohol license outlets in this census tract, which is 2733. Only 5 licenses are allowed by ABC, yet 16 are already issued. And this ratio pretty much stands for the whole city of Venice, by the way, be aware. There's at least 3 to 4 times what is allowed. And we already have many, many more in the pipeline. We don't need or want any more alcohol outlets. This is a family-friendly neighbourhood. A 2010 report published by the LA County Department of Public Health shows that in high-density areas of alcohol outlets, which Venice is, the likelihood of alcohol-related deaths is 5 times more likely. Alcohol-related deaths, 5 times more likely. Alcohol-related vehicle accidents are 3 times more likely. And violent crime is 9 to 10 times more likely in a high-density area, which Venice is. The noise is a huge issue, which you will probably hear about from some of the immediate neighbours. Noise, whether it be with an alcohol licence or no alcohol, 100 people in your backyard is going to make a huge din from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. And this could potentially be a 24-hour around-the-clock operation, considering it's a commercial bakery as well as potentially a restaurant. So you're talking about 24-hour noise for these neighbours who live 13 feet away. Parking, as we know, parking. There's never enough parking. Especially in this area, you've got Gold's Gym across the road. There are 10,000 members there. We've got beach parking. There is a parking lot adjoining 320 Sunset, which is not tied to the business with a covenant. The applicant has non-exclusive use of the lot, which means there's no guarantee that he will be able to use that lot in perpetuity as long as his business is operational. It means the landlord could take that lot away next week and we would have nowhere to park. The applicant proposes 35 staff and close to 100 patrons, plus an estimated 30 takeout customers. That's 150 people at any given time. I'm not sure where they're expected to park. The applicant publicly stated that he would allow patrons on milk crates in the parking lot to eat their food, such as he does at his other location, GTA, which means if people are going to sit in the parking lot eating, where are the cars going to park? I'll leave the rest to everyone else. Truck access, emergency vehicle access, coastal access all needs to be provided. Project is not compatible with the neighbourhood. Applicant has a poor track record, which someone else will cover. The process has not been honest. He has not put up his notices. He has been inconsistent with the plans. The plans which the C of O are based on are very different to the plans before LUPC and before the public. So he has lied in that respect. We respectfully request you vote in favour of the motion to deny this project. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, next is Roxanne Brown, who is also taking Nick's time, so she's got 1 minute. Roxanne, come on up. No, when we get to it. When we get to board meeting.
to 320 Sunset in the 300 block of Vernon. My biggest concern is that 8 roads come together and surround 320 Sunset. Put a restaurant and liquor license there and it's a recipe for disaster. Sunset's a narrow street and it's bounded by 4th and bounded by Hampton, super congested. Also, right where 320 Sunset is, 3rd Street goes almost right into the restaurant, dead ends into it. You go a few feet west, and you've got the exit and entry for Gold's parking and for Sunset. They practically run into each other. You go a few feet more west, and there's an alley linking Sunset and Vernon, and an alley behind it, a narrow alley. You add alcohol to this, crash, okay? Recipe for disaster, no coastal access, no emergency vehicles. Again, the owner of this leaves a burnt taste in my mouth, a burnt your bridges taste. We all know his reputation from his other restaurants, which he constantly denies. In 7 years, those complaints haven't been rectified. So please don't let this happen again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we got Hubert next. He's got a minute and a half because he has Era and Laddie's time.
Thank you all very much for your time. Certainly
Give us half a second here so we can get it set for you there. You can just start going. Give me a couple of seconds.
In addition to the noise and the parking and the traffic congestion concerns, we also have an issue with the applicant's honesty, frankly, and the transparency in this whole process. No one's here tonight. No one showed up. Well, the architect showed up at the last PUC meeting, but that was it. The applicant himself was not there. On the original C of O application, this was supposed to be a bakery. There was no mention of restaurant, beer, wine sales, either in-house or takeout. None of that was there. The coastal exemption that he received was granted with claims that there would be no increase in occupant load, vehicle trips, or an additional needed parking. Yet in the lease he signed with the landlord before either of those were issued, it stated that he was planning a bakery/cafe, which implies there was restaurant in the plan. In this most recent issue of the Argonaut, Gary Walker wrote an article where he said that because the provisions of the city permit process allowed this to happen, for him to first apply for the bakery concept and later attach patio seating for a restaurant, the applicant said, quote, "If I had applied for both at the same time, it would have delayed the process of getting permits," end quote. It seems as if playing fast and loose with what his ultimate intentions to navigate the permitting process was more important than being upfront and honest with the neighborhood and the tenants. The applicant claims to be a neighbor. He's not behaving like one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to go through the remainder of public comments we have. I'll call 3 or 4 in a row. Again, if you could line up, that would be great. And again, I just simply emphasized to you, in the interest of everybody's time, if you feel what you want to say has already been said, there's nothing wrong with holding up your hand and saying, I agree with everything that's been said in front of me. I know that everybody would appreciate it, but if you'd like it, you do have 30 seconds to speak. Okay, Robbie Shaw, followed by Lydia, followed by, I've got another one in here for Laddie, but you already seated your, oh no, it's Laddie Dill, yeah, sorry. Okay, so those 3, and then, yeah, let's start with those 3. Robbie, Lydia, and Laddie. Okay, so you're in support of the amended motion. Okay, Laddie. The floor is yours, my friend. After that is Adam Bagley and Renata Bumpel.
I'm Laddie Gill. I obviously am opposed to the restaurant. I have no problem with the bakery except for one fact. I'm his next door neighbor, or when he moves in. The back alley is impossible for a regular car to make a right or a left-hand turn. And what the owner,
Thanks. Well, it was 30. We got 30 seconds apart.
It's impossible for a car, let alone a truck, to make that right or left-hand turn. So that it's just a total backup all the way. Fran has lied to us, the whole neighborhood. He had a neighborhood meeting, and he told us various things that were just complete lies. And he has no respectability at all. But if it were just an enclosed bakery, I have no problem.
Thank you very much, Larry. That's an effective public comment, folks. And excuse me, when we're all out of order, we don't need to yell at people here. I assume that you are opposed to it and you support the denial. Thank you very much. Okay, so that was Brian. Next we have Jackie Lavin, followed, excuse me, folks, if we can't stay in order and be respectful, then we have to step outside. Come on. Jackie Lavin, followed by Brian Reed, followed by Tori Nose.